What is going on, Lunatic Fringe? Guys, something is going on here. Luna Classic, 2 times in the last 24 hours, has minted tokens. Now, each hour we went down in our token distribution, so I'm assuming that it's something in a protocol somewhere, but it's interesting to see because it looked like we burned about 300 million each time. So, and that's a significant portion. Why it seems to be, and by the way, I'm only using stake bin, so I'm actually looking into this right now with validators trying to figure out what is going on, but it looks like, you know what, let me show you. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. There's actually a lot to go over, so let's kick it up. All right, guys, first up, there is a new article up on Binance Square talking about the possibility of getting back to $1, and listen, there's no, in my opinion, there's no opportunity right now to get back to $1, and I'm getting an answer right now on it. So if something comes about, then I will let you know about the burn, like the reminting process. Is probably just some kind of error that's happening, but somebody's looking into it right now. So anyway, back to $1 in 2030. That seems like something that could, but at this point, what we should look at and be specific is what can we do this time. Now, I've given you a prediction, 2027. That is down from 1027, 2.7 cents that I had a long time ago. And I'm talking about maybe a 40x from the position that we're at right now, as opposed to what originally was what I was looking for, which is certainly not where we are right. I was assuredly looking for a much bigger, well, we didn't get it, and that was going to be because of burn. So the burns just didn't come. We burned a lot, but when you take a step back, there's just too much supply. We were assuming at any point that the amount of the supply in some way by a repeg would end up reducing by, if you guys remember, about 67% over the course of a year to a year and a half, which is what was happening with the original Luna, because it had 1 billion supply to start. And then by the time we were, the collapse happened, there were only 334 million. So it had burned 66.7%, somewhere near that, when everything collapsed in the ecosystem. So there was a significant burn happening. And if we had done that, then, we would be from what are we at, 6 trillion right now? About 5 trillion active, 5.45 trillion active. If we had taken the 6.5 and we had reduced it, then we would be at around 2 trillion-ish, 2.5 trillion. So, we would have been in a much better scenario and place, and the price would be about 3 times higher. It'd be 3 zeros 18, because the supply reduction would have been basically 2/3. So that's what's missing right now from prediction. If that were the case, and we were at that spot and we 40x from there, we would be almost at a penny. So there you have it. The money was kind of there. The opportunity was kind of there, but to me, it appears that we've sort of missed. So can we get back to $1 in that period of time? Well, that gives you enough time to rebuild some sort of model that would do reciprocal burning for USTC or Luna Classic, or let's just say USTC is now dead. Let's just say that it's dead and there's no chance right there. Well, then in that case, there is a potential and a possibility that the newer algorithmic fungible token or stable coin, if you will, whatever it is that we attach to it for burn purposes, that help. And then we just dismiss USTC entirely and don't assume that $8 billion of debt, which, by the way, not $8 billion right now. We're really talking about, actually, you know what? For the moment, it is about $8 billion worth of debt. You can take LFG out of that mix at some point, which is about 1.8 billion, leaving 6 billion. So we still have the price tag here of about $1 billion on USTC. So, it's going to be prohibitive to do anything with it unless somebody's just going to have to enable it and see what happens, I think, but we shall see. Moving on. So we've got a good pairing right now. It's favorable in the 1 day. In the 7 day, and this is the important part, look at this. We've started to kick up. Now, it's still favorable Bitcoin, and it should be, by the way, Bitcoin going up and creating a good favorability would be nice. It would be indicative of an altcoin season, and it doesn't appear that we're at an altcoin. That's the problem. The problem is we haven't really sailed and soared in any way in a very so. The pairing is still unfavorable, but it looks like it's starting to move back up. If we can get some green on this chart on the 7-day, and if we can get a big push on the 1 month and just start to really do that, then maybe, maybe we can get a little bit of a breakout. People will recognize that favorability and start aping in. Nothing new on Commonwealth. For meme coins, Juris down about 13% on the day. Remember, Juris is now listed on Weeks, or it's about to go live on Weeks. And guess what? Weeks is now adding their pairings onto Tradingview. So it will only be a matter of time before you're able to, when Juris goes live, then there's a real possibility here that you're going to see Juris pop up here. It's not here yet, but once everything is done with Weeks, then they will be using an API from Tradingview, and we'll have an update on that. So that's actually a really cool thing here, because that's exposure that we otherwise do not have in this market. By the way, this yellow line is global liquidity, and the reason that I have this up is I'll show you in just a sec. All right, so this is a global liquidity index, and everything that happens runs a few months off. So what I did is I took that, I added it to my charts because I wanted to see where the money flow. And when money flow is coming in positive, the price will pump in a couple weeks, and when it's negative, the price will dump in a couple weeks. And I would illustrate here that it's been very consistent with the market, and then it broke here, and we had a gap in this gap here. Look at this right here. So the gap on this was about 84 days. So it was about 11 weeks, 10 or 11, between the top of the liquidity injection in the global markets and the top of Luna Classic in this range. And guess what? Then we had this massive dump over here. And by the way, if you notice, it looks like we're having a massive dump right here. And it came all the way down. Then we had a retest right here. Look, kind of had a retest right there. Then we had a real bad spike to the downside, but we haven't seen that yet. So it would be my estimation that this probably going to something like this, maybe towards the bottom of this range and just a little bit below. But then this right here is going to play out. And I want you to understand that is liquidity being injected into the global market. Okay. That is basically a giant cascade of new capital coming into the risk markets. And if it continues, then this market is going to start soaring. And the thing is, this is a couple weeks off. So you can see right here, this was about almost 90 days, almost 3. So 11, same thing over here. I mean, this does mean, if I'm looking at it right, that we could have some potential more downside over here, and then a big time reversal right here, which would lead to those types of moves, which would bring it back up here, drop a 0, something like that. That's what it looks like the next move is. So I'm going to be watching for this. U.S. market is on the clock right now. Now, here's the thing. U.S. market, through the evening, if you look at the total market cap, through a couple of hours ago, there was a massive injection about 4 p.m. here, or 4 a.m. of huge amounts of liquidity, taking us back up here to 2.72 trillion, which is about an extra 60 trillion from where we are. So we were up 110 billion dollars on the day before the U.S. market woke up and said, ooh, liquidity, and started sucking. Now, look, I don't make the rule. That's just so maybe we'll have a positive day. I'm not sure yet. This market is really trying to weigh you down, and that makes it very, very difficult. So USTC, 11.81, up 6% on the day. Again, I really kind of think it's an opportune time to move stuff over into USTC in the event that there's a pump. But also remember, when we're talking about that global liquidity, it's doing the same thing over here. Like, I still think what I told you guys the other day, that we had some opportunity to come down into this range right here, and that's what the liquidity looked like in the market before shooting back up. So I'm looking for that to play out, and what I'm going to do, my idea here is I'm going to take my bag of Luna Classic, I'm going to move it and see when it gets down this range right here, and then I'm going to hopefully be able to play it back towards the top of this range, which would be an easy 3x or 4x right there, then flip it back into Classic and get a better position. That would be my idea. And I don't know, I'm going to let you guys know how it goes. I think that's going to be a risk that I'm going to take on this, and see how it goes. Now, there's a possibility that that pairing is not favorable and that Luna Classic rips more than USTC and thus renders what's valid, or you know what I mean. So we'll see. Also, I'm told that this is a stake bin glitch. So if you see that stake bin is, this is what's going on stake bin, by the way. You can see right here, it looks like we minted a whole bunch, and it looks like we minted a whole bunch over here. And you know, right here we had 1.3 million that we lost, and then over here only 153,000. But when you look at the numbers up here, you see opens at 6.5 trillion with 586, and then it the high was 809, and then the low is 585. So it looks like there was a lot more potential. Like it looked like they minted a whole bunch, like 200 million that period of time. But I'm being told now that that's so. You'll see this every once in a while. When you look at it on the daily, you just see these little candles right here because it's happened 2 times. It doesn't appear to have affected anything. But yeah, they're saying that it's not actually minting, and they're looking for another source. But the number, the total supply is still coming down as it is. That, again, seems to be a stake bin. Burns, by the way, 1.175 billion over the last 7 days. Not great, but again, this is better than some of the weeks that we've had that have just been, you know, ridiculous. Let's get back to the price action. So you can see here from this liquidity chart here, again, the same thing. If we're moving a little bit slow, then this right here is right here, this right here should here, then this right here is a huge liquidity injection, meaning that we are due for an absolute banger of a time. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen, just means that it looks like it. And I'm going to stick with this liquidity index for a little while. We're going to look at this and we're going to see, does this play out the way that I think it's, because it looks like it's a pretty good predicator on whether or not we are happy. So keep you guys posted. Now in Galaxy Station, there's a request for funds to compensate additional work. Orbit Labs requesting funding $2,000 extra for the 3.4.0 upgrade. These changes were not originally included in the Phase 1 budget, but were necessary to improve security and IBC compatible Terra Classic. The additional engineering effort was critical for maintaining secure and reliable chain. Total of 2,000 USD is a fair and reasonable cost for this of work. And then there's the reference there for proposal, and then this is what they were doing. And so far, it's just been all yeses to one abstain, it looks like. I don't see it updated over here, but there is an abstain, or maybe it's an abstain. Generally speaking, it could be, maybe I just need to update here, but it looks like so far ready to go. So there's no with veto, nothing like that. So we'll see, you know, how it plays out. If you do your work, you should be confident. So that's the only proposal up right now. The SDK 0.50 from Antier was rejected. Now, as far as total meme coins go, and by the way, go to terraport.finance if you want to buy some. Garuda X still just really kind of soaring here. Juris, I think Juris is due for a big move like this up to that Garuda level where, you know, we get a nice little 3x or so from Juris to create some value there. And then Food is just maintaining they've got a lot of hold floor, which has been a really good thing to see so far. Also Terra looks like, you know, not much movement over here. So certainly check all of these out. Up 60% in volume, down slightly in market cap as we retrace a little bit. And it's just happening right now as we speak. Both of these charts were up just a few moments ago. So the US market must be here sucking liquidity out. And that's exactly what's happening. Again, we were over 100 billion until the US market woke up, and now we're down. We're up 50. So, you know, US market sucking it out. So anyway, both of them are down for the day, down to 11.78. Again, I do expect one more big dump here. Once that big dump happens, I'm going to convert everything from Lunc over to USTC to take a shot. Now, also want to say this. The last time we had over 1 trillion staked Luna Classic, I want to point out that this is where we ended up. Like, this is the last time we had a really good run. We had over 1 trillion staked, and then they started to come out. Then people started to, as soon as we got up into this range, all of a sudden people started unstake, okay? But we were over 1 trillion, and then it went under 1 trillion, and it led to a dump. Now it's back over 1 trillion. So what do you think happens next? For me, I think that it goes up. It's just by the way, it's not an indication that it will happen. That's just a potential that it could happen based on the fact that it did the last. There's no crazy justification or anything like that, okay? So again, probably down one more time, and then a big rally back up range. At least that range would be that I would guess at the max that we get a breakout coming up in. So I do think that's on tap. So we'll see what happens. But 5 billion. Now there's 1.023 staked. That's 15.74% of the total supply that's now staked. That's a really good number. And remember, it's 21-day unstaking process here for people who've got it staked. So there's not a lot of movement that's like with those one token. Now, Juris protocol is going to be added to Week. This means that you will be able to add Juris trading pairs and chart it directly from the Tradingview platform. Now, look, I don't know that this is it's not a giant deal, but this is a big deal, and I think that we should recognize there's a potential here for a massive exposure if Weeks is on board with some Luna Classic pairings and they start posting them, and then from that we get them listed on Tradingview. Then guess what? Meme coins are going to get noticed. It's just science, bro. So I think it's a good move right here. Also, Mustache, a guy that I follow every once in a while, he says, I think everyone should slowly realize that they're trying to take out as much liquidity as they can so that they're among the few when up only starts, right? That's what you're experiencing right now. You might be looking around this market wondering what is going on. In the reality that the venture capitals, the liquidity providers, the market makers, all of these, the crypto whales, the bank, hedge funds, all of the people who currently buy and sell crypto in the billions on the daily, all of those people are extracting as much money from this market as they can to create as big a crater as they possibly can so that they can get the price down to a level that they would like to buy at, with the opportunity to be incredibly shrewd so that the end result is they are layered in under your investment. They want to shake you out. They want you to sell to drop the price even more so that they can DCA their way in and keep buying all the way to the bottom, and they can get that big bag at the bottom, and then boom, as the market reverses and we go into up, that's how they make all of their money and extract it from you, and not just you, but the entire market. So, expect to see a lot of shaking out over the next little. Okay, this is just a warning. And look, I think most of us expected the market to pump and soar by this point, and I think most of us are also let down that it did not. But at the end of it, what matters is this: that run, it's still coming. It's just a matter now of, do you have the patience, and do you have the patience? That's the question. Can you relax, chill out a little bit long enough to? That's a decision only you can make. It's not financial advice, but I'm always right.